My guest today is from DAM Capital Advisors, Dharmesh Mehta, who is the MD and CEO. The IPO is opening on December 19th and closes on December 23rd. Price between 269 to 283 rupees per share. It's an OFS for 840.25 crores. Dharmesh, thank you very much for joining us on NDTV Profit. It's been an incredible journey. You took over the assets of IDFC, and now you have grown them into a situation that you are in the primary market for an listing. Take us through your journey from 2019 November till now.
Well, Sajid, it has been a dream run. So, as you rightly mentioned, from 2019 to now, we must be one of the fastest growing investment banks. And in between, you don't need to forget that we had a COVID, 2 or 3 years of COVID, virtually where you couldn't meet anyone. So looking at that scenario, I think so the team has done a fabulous job, and hoping that we continue the same run.
Mm-hmm. Give us a sense of the kind of operations that you have with respect to the segments that you cater.
So currently we are into equity capital markets, which is IPOs, QIPs, rights, buyback, the various products in equity capital markets. Besides that, we have a very strong practice on the mergers and acquisitions and financial sponsor servicing them. So we have 3 pools of revenues as of today: investment banking, and within investment banking we got IPOs, QIPs, and financial sponsor coverage plus M&A. On the other side, we also have institutional broking, which is purely advisory services to all the institutional investors investing in India today.
Mm-hmm. For your first half of fiscal 25, you had a revenue of 107 crores, 108 crores actually. 60.5 is the EBITDA, and EBITDA margin of 56.1%. Is that kind of margin sustainable for you going forward?
So I won't be able to give you any future-looking statements, but I think so. As this business is always high operating margin, subject to your top line growth. So if you get the top line growing, the operating leverage is very, very high. So I wouldn't like to comment what's going to happen in the next future, but I would say the business actually can deliver those kind of numbers.
Mm-hmm. A lot depends upon the market trend that and our revenues are basically dependent on that. Your advisory revenues also are dependent on market trend. How do you see the current market situation and the kind of pipeline that you have for IPOs? Because it's been a dream run as far as IPOs are concerned for 2024. Nearly 1.9 lakh crores have been raised from the primary markets. How do you see that run? Do you see that run continuing into 2025?
See, India is in a long-term bull cycle, and the kind of growth which you are expecting in India in the period of 3 to 5 years or over a decade, that kind of period you require large capex. In large capex, you require funding also happening from debt and equity. So I believe the India story is very strong. China plus one story is going to get India to a different level in the next coming years. I would not say short term, but in the long-term period. So the long-term story looks bullish. On that basis, even the capital markets should do very well. You will have cycles, where you will see some kind of downturn for a few months or few quarters, but that's it. That's in the game, It always happens. But overall, the long-term story is very bullish.
Dharmesh, if you look at your segments, business segments, IPOs are one thing where you are talking about how capital requirement will drive more companies to the market. There's another segment which is secondary exits, which is bulk deals or block deals which happen, and where you are a major player there as well. In 2024, we have seen a lot of that happening. There is there's a talk in the market that 2025 is going to be more muted in that sense because most of the exits have happened. Do you see more exits coming in or exit trades, as we call it in market, coming in 2025?
See, India is a place where now large exits are happening on the secondary market, which was unheard of in the earlier years. So that actually brings strength to the market, where an investor can think, I can actually exit the entire company through the Indian stock market, which was never the case. So that actually brings a lot of bullishness for people to actually invest more in this country. And the depth of the market has increased, as everybody knows, thanks to the savings money coming into mutual funds, and mutual funds being such a large player now in the markets. I think so secondary exits will continue for the future. and the robust growth which India is talking about, that will facilitate that.
How are the foreign investors looking at India? Because we've seen a lot of exits happening from the secondary market, but in primary they've been net buyers, and they've been putting in more funds as we speak. Can you give us a sense of the way foreign investors are looking into the Indian markets, both through the primary eye and and the secondary eye?
See, I'm very bullish on India in the long term, so I believe the foreign investors which have exited this year or the last year, I'm sure they'll come back very soon. India's story is a long-term bull story, so they can't afford to ignore India, especially in the world, in the global world where there is so much of bearishness and concern on growth. India stands out, very tall. So I believe you'll see some risk money coming back to India in the next year, is my call.
Between your revenue breakup, advisory fees and brokerages, 55% coming from advisory and brokerage is around 39%. Do you see this revenue breakup to continue in this format, or is going to change in some way where institutional broking will at some point in time will have a higher say in it?
I would say the current structure of the firm where you're seeing this kind of percentage of fees coming from different pools, that should remain in a similar way. But as I said, this all depends how the markets perform. So it's very tough to come and say which segment will do better. And anyways, we won't be able to speak outside the DRHP. So I would say current status should continue.
If I may to ask you, you are a merchant banker. You did roughly 36 issues in FY24 and 18 in the first half. What is the kind of pipeline that you see for the second half, where already you have the mandates?
Well, the pricing will be set in the advice of the bankers. So based on what bankers see from the anchor investors, the pricing will be done accordingly.
No,
and for a change, I have to listen to my bankers this time.
Yeah, I get that. I'm talking from a point of view of the billing for in merchant banking, because 36 was the number that you did for FY24 and 18 you did for in H1.
Sorry, Sajid, your voice is cracking, so I'm not able to hear you properly.
If you can hear me now, in the billing for merchant banking, there were 36 clients that you did in FY24, and 18 you did it in H1 of FY25. What is the kind of pipeline that we see for the second half of the year?
Well, we have a strong pipeline, but as I said, we cannot speak outside the DRHP. So whatever numbers is mentioned there, that's what we are saying. But overall, the fundraising activity is at its all-time high, as you know. So we'll see strong growth coming there.
Give me a sense of your asset management business, because you have already set up a company called DAM Asset Management, though it is yet to register with SEBI. What is the plan that you have for DAM Asset Management?
Well, it's too early to talk about DAM Asset Management, but eventually we will enter into that space. So you just have to wait for a few more quarters for us to look into this. Currently, I won't be able to comment on that. It's just too early to say on that.
Give me also a sense of your US subsidiary, DAM USA. What kind of relationship that you have with DAM USA, and how does it help you in leveraging that for the US clients?
So it's more of a chaperone arrangement with the US subsidiary. There's no business which is running there, and it's more to go and market to US investor. We require an entity there, hence the reason the subsidiary is there.
Dharmesh, it was a pleasure talking to you today. Thank you very much for joining us today on NDTV Profit. Your IPO is opening on December 19th, closes on December 23rd, price between 269 to 283 rupees per share. Is an OFS for 840 crores, and that gives the company a market value of 2,000 crores at the upper end of the price band. Thank you for joining us today.